Good day, everyone. I am Michael, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is Employment Law Update 2025. Are you prepared and protected? It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our presenter for today, Matthew Burr. Matthew Burr has over 16 years of experience working in the human resource field. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Matthew.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. I guess depends on where you're at in the country right now. I definitely appreciate the kind introduction from the host, and always happy to discuss this topic today with you. At this point, I think it's a valuable topic. Just a quick, again, these are some of the areas we're going to take a look at. And I probably pivot off this this areas we cover. There's a lot of it. I think is just out here for reference at this point for you in the workplace to take a look at and just have. I mean, a lot of this you can use potentially for, for training as well. So a couple of things to consider. I always keep this slide up because it seems like there's always evolution, in this area. And I should put recreational and medicinal. Paid family leave law continues to evolve at this point across the country. More states are potentially passing legislation around sexual harassment policies and procedures is another one to take a look at. There's been some significant evolution. So those are things to consider and take a look at. Overtime level state and federal is another one. Your exempt, non-exempt, FLSA status, right? There was a potential rule put in place, or it was proposed by the Biden administration to increase it from independent contractor status is one to take a look at as well. There was some clawback on that from the Trump administration when they took over in January or February, where there were some rules that had changed the game a little bit for independent contractors, made it harder to be classified as an independent contractor. That workplace violence training reporting is another one to take a look at. Like certain states are now requiring notification to employees, policies in place, training on that. Postings could be another one to consider as well. An evolution of immigration law and immigration law enforcement under this new administration, where the form changed, I think, back in April. At this point, there's a new form out there to use. But these are areas just to consider because that is an area that continues to evolve. I think they're becoming more restrictive on some of that as well on what's expected. So I would absolutely encourage anyone on the call to do an I-9 audit. Through July 31st, employees absolutely can still use this until July 31st if needed. So just some things to consider as well. As I look and see specifically on FMLA, I see more changes at the, in the court systems than anything else. If there's anything that, changes on parent or, definition of parent or definition of who's covered under FMLA, there's been really no major overhaul. All things to consider as part of like really kind of an employment law update and kind of watching that evolution. Again, pretty straightforward on this one where we're at. We continue to see evolution specifically in this area around paid leave, paid family leave. This was just an example of kind of how it was rolled out in New York State. Just a quick example of this one as well, kind of what the potential policy would look like. I'm going to kind of skip through that. Paid sick leave I discussed real briefly earlier. Pregnancy and childbirth leave specifically in this area is the lactation policies across the country or laws across the country for employers. EEO policy considerations, or if you do have a policy like this, or even the legal side, some of the areas that I've seen some evolution on specifically across the country. ADA, nothing specific on this except just kind of watching to make sure you are, have the definition, understand it. Workers' comp comes to mind in this area specifically as well. We talked about drug-free workplace a little bit with marijuana around some of these laws that continue to evolve related to medicinal and recreational, really recreational. We talked a little bit about the pandemic policy. I mean, again, it's recommended at this point, nothing required. Telecommuting policy and procedure. We talked about sexual harassment already at this point. Just keep that in mind and see if there's any evolution. There's just additional information there to take a look at here as well. We talked about, the second chance language, equal pay and pay notification. The other one I will say that I need to add in here at this point is the artificial intelligence, like the chat, the AI, pay data, record keeping. There's some stuff coming up in here as well. I'm going to kind of skip through this. This is just reference to audits. We talked about the exempt, non-exempt already. You've got this breakdown of FLSA classifications as well. Just some information here at this point, specifically around record retention, just some areas to consider as components of what should be in a personnel file at this point. And then remember, I'm going to jump. We talked about I-9s already. The common mistakes, I'm going to just go here. So just some things to consider as part of that at this point. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, no, appreciate everyone, staying with us at this point. Definitely a lot of information. Keep in mind that the laws, the employment labor laws change quite frequently. So, continue to watch at the local and state. That's all I had. Everyone have a nice rest of the day and a nice weekend. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for participating. So that is conclude the session. Bye-bye.